Hello everyone, this is Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of The Third Eye from 2017 and The Third Eye 2 from 2019, both of which were produced by Indonesia. Now these were directed by a man named Rocky Soraya, who may have signed a contract with Netflix in terms of distributing his films, because 6 of this man's horror films have hit that streaming service over the last year or two. You know, he directed The Doll, which was kind of mediocre. The Doll 2, which was kind of mediocre. Sabrina, which was pretty good. Susanna, Buried Alive, which was quite good, I thought. And both of these Third Eye movies, which have the alternate title Mata Batin. So what is The Third Eye about? Well, a woman named Aliyah decides to leave Bangkok and return to Jakarta after her parents die. She and Abel, her teenage sister, moved into their childhood home away from the city. But Abel, who was often strange and frightened, dislikes the house. You know, she insists that there is a supernatural presence in it. Aliyah ends up visiting a psychic named Mrs. Windu, who actually agrees to open Aliyah's third eye so that she can directly interact with the spirits if they exist, because she doesn't really believe her sister in this stuff. She's like, you know what, open up my third eye if there's these spirits walking, because I can't understand what my sister's talking about. So, needless to say, the situation gets pretty bad for both of them, and these girls try to figure a way out of this situation. And the sequel, The Third Eye 2, has a similar premise, but it takes place in an orphanage instead of a mansion. I actually chuckled early on when watching the first part of this first film, because this poor girl, Abel, is just traumatized by a ghost before the opening credits finish. And I was just thinking, like, man, sweetie, this is going to be a long movie for you. And the reason I say that is because these Third Eye movies kind of remind me of some of those horror flicks that Thailand made back in the mid-2000s. You know, stuff like The House or The Victim, that are basically popcorn horror films with just tons of scares thrown in. And that's basically what these Third Eye movies do. They just bombard the viewer with a truckload of scare scenes, one after the other. Of course, you know, this could be a problem if all of the scares were cheap jumps, but that's not the case here. You know, there are some jump scares used, but there's a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, for example, there's some demon possession scenes, some alternate dimension scenes to enjoy. I like those sequences in the alternate dimension because they're kind of spooky and colorful, and you all know how I like color in my horror films. Actually, the most memorable scenes in both of these films are the surprisingly violent physical attacks that occur. You know, there's only like 1 or 2 in each film, but they're definitely memorable and satisfying. The spirits are presented in a variety of ways as well. I mean, you get men ghosts, women ghosts, children ghosts, old people ghosts, with specific scarring based on their deaths, you know, different hair colors, all kinds of stuff. So there's a nice variety of horror content here in general. None of these scenes are really terrifying per se, but they're sufficiently fun to watch. Another thing I want to point out is that both of these Third Eye films get more entertaining as they progress. You know, I would say my favorite scenes in general are usually backloaded to like the final half hour. I mean, there's some fun stuff throughout, but usually the most entertaining stuff is saved for that final like section of the film. There are also a few little twists that I did not see coming that I liked. There's a funny scene at the end of the first film, and look out for this, where a random dude decides to ask our lead protagonist out on a date, and it's hilarious because he realizes like what's going on, or kind of realizes it, and the face he makes when he walks away is just priceless. That was a good scene. I don't know if it was intentionally meant to be funny, but that was funny. The actresses are very attractive and give likable performances. None of the characters or storylines are complicated or deep, but in a popcorn horror film, that doesn't really matter much, right? I will say that the boyfriend character from the first film is essentially worthless. Could have been cut out of the film entirely. I mean, he doesn't even have much screen time anyway, and his character just leads to another cliche to add to the pile, you know what I mean? So I thought they should have just written him out entirely. Also, as a viewer, you kind of wonder why the cops don't show up a lot more, given certain murders that occur in these movies. And like, shouldn't there be cops like swarming all over the place doing investigations and stuff? If you really want to poke holes and nitpick these films, you can definitely do so. But it's also true that, you know, the cliche story and commonplace scare tactics do limit the effectiveness of these films. I know some reviewers online thought that these films were just kind of forgettable, non-impactful films. But if you're looking for some moderately entertaining popcorn horror flicks from Indonesia, you could do far worse than The Third Eye 1 and 2. I actually like these movies, and I've watched them both twice. And I did a little double feature marathon the other night, and I like them. They're pretty good. They're entertaining. There's a whole lot of Rocky Soraya films on Netflix, as I previously said. But if you wanted to cut the list in half, go from 6 of his films to 3, like the 3 that you should probably check out first, I would say check out, you know, The Third Eye, The Third Eye 2, and then Susanna, Buried Alive, which I thought was kind of interesting. Those are the 3 to start with this director, I think, in terms of the stuff that's available on Netflix. Then if you like those, and check out those Doll movies and Sabrina or whatever. Well, that's what we got. As always, I'll see you next time.